Undisciplined people are untrustworthy, not specifically because they have bad intentions, but because they're not strong enough to not do things that they know that they shouldn't be doing. They are weak, and being loyal, being trustworthy, being respectable, being reliable, being dependable, all requires strength. And if you look at any of these people, any of these obviously undisciplined people, the fats, the poors, the addicts, the depressed, anyone like that, anyone who is not where they would like to be isn't where they would like to be because they lack discipline. So if you take a look at any single one of them, then you will see exactly what it is that I am talking about. Now, anyone who says that they don't know what to do, or they don't know what they should be doing, or they don't know that what they're doing is bad, is a fucking liar. Unless they are complete idiots, in which case you shouldn't talk to them or associate with them because they're stupid. And they're also untrustworthy for that reason, because they lack the proper level of intelligence to understand how it is that they should conduct themselves, and therefore will at some point do some dumb shit to your detriment. But it's a mildly separate topic, and I digress. If you take a look at the fats, take a look at fat people, they are clear and prime examples of a lack of discipline. Now, they know good and goddamn well they shouldn't be eating all of that food that they're eating. They know good and goddamn well that the food that they're eating is bad for them. They know good and goddamn well they shouldn't be sitting around all day, and they should be working out in some capacity. Maybe they don't know the specific workout plan that they should follow, but they know that they should be doing something. Maybe they don't know the specific foods that they should be eating, but they know good and goddamn well it's not the foods that they are eating. And maybe they don't know the appropriate amount of food, but they know good and goddamn well that it's not the amount of food that they've been eating. Yet somehow, despite all of that, despite all of this obvious shit and very clear evidence and clear information in their face, they still don't have what it takes to stop themselves from eating food. Every single day, they betray themselves over and over again because they want snacks. They go against their own best interests every time they hit the drive-thru. They disregard their health every time they eat one of the meals that they eat. They disregard their well-being every time they skip a workout. They say fuck their own future every single time they sit down and eat fucking 14 pizzas like it's nothing. They clearly don't give a shit about themselves. So, what makes you think they would give any type of fuck about you? Maybe it might seem that way, maybe it might seem like they are nice people, maybe it might seem like they care about you, but when it really comes down to it, when it gets hard, which is their problem, their aversion to effort, they will go against you and your best interests in favor of themselves and what it is that feels good. That's what their entire worldview, their entire life is built around. What feels good to them. That's how they got so fucking large to begin with. They had a craving, they had to eat it because they couldn't deal with having the craving because it didn't feel good. What felt good was satisfying the craving. What felt good was eating the food that popped into their head instead of denying themselves it. Even though they knew that that wasn't the thing to do, they did it anyway because they are ruled by their desire for pleasure. Same thing goes with addicts. If you have a friend who is a compulsive and or excessive drinker, smoker, needle person, I don't know what you call, shooter, maybe, coke sniffer, fucking pill popper, whatever the case may be, they are controlled by substances and their desire to feel good and be high, really. So they don't have any control over what it is that they do. They don't have any degree of strength, because if they did, they would understand that they should stop snorting all of that powder. If they gave a fuck about themselves, they would stop doing drugs and or drinking. If they gave a fuck about themselves, they would be sober. If they cared about their own future, their own well-being, their own dreams, their own goals, their own body, their own face, their own blood, they would not be consuming all of these substances that they consume. But they continue to do so because they don't give a single fuck about themselves. Their actions reflect it. They too betray themselves over and over again. Every single time they reach for the bottle or the shot glass or the blunt or the pills or the powder or the heroin, if you have much more extreme and far out there friends, Every single day, every single choice, they go against their own best interests, knowing good and goddamn well that that's what they're doing. Some people might sit there and act like, yes, drinking alcohol is okay and it has some health benefits. Those people are deluding themselves, and deep down, they're fully aware of it. They are aware that the reason they drink and then wake up the next day feeling like shit is because it's bad for them. They are aware that they are poisoning themselves, yet they do it anyway because they have such little regard for their own self-interest that rather than being sober and learning to make the most of what's going on and deal with your own problems, they choose to consume poison. Again, they choose to consume poison rather than deal with their own thoughts. When things get difficult, they run to drugs. So what do you think is going to happen when shit gets difficult with you? When they are faced with a decision regarding your best interest or what is best for you and their own sense of ease and comfort, they will pick themselves every single time, regardless of whatever it is that people tell you. Loyalty is an action, and in order to take that action, it requires strength, and all undisciplined people are weak. That is why they are where it is that they are. People are poor because they are weak. They don't have the strength to stop making excuses. They don't have the strength to take accountability for their situation. They don't have the strength to delay gratification. They don't have the strength to do what they're supposed to be doing, regardless of how it is that they feel like, or regardless of what it is that they feel like. They don't have the necessary strength to do anything to improve themselves, because what's more important to them is feeling good about where they are and escaping their reality. It is not self-improvement. It is not self-betterment, which means when it really comes down to it, they don't give a fuck about you either. Depressed people are exactly the same way. No one is more selfish than people who suffer from depression. You wind up feeling this way or that way because you are so wrapped up in your own self-interest, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your dreams, what you're feeling, what you're not feeling, that you don't give a fuck about anything else around you. Talk to someone who claims they have depression, and all they will ever say is me, 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 myself, and I. It is only about them, and everything that they do is based entirely around themselves. They base their day off of how they're feeling. Selfish as fuck. They stay in bed when they feel like staying in bed because that's what might make them feel better. They show up in relationships how they would like to show up in relationships because it's what they feel like doing. They don't give a single solitary fuck about anyone but the person in the mirror. You might care about all of your friends who are suffering from their mental health things and their depression, but I assure you, despite what it is that they say, they don't give a fuck about you. That is why they are depressed to begin with, because all they give a fuck about is them. If they actually stepped outside of their own little bubble, of their own little world, they would see that everything is much bigger than how it is that they were feeling in the moment. But they're unable to do that because they are unable to see past the person in the mirror. That is all that they give a fuck about. And no matter how good of a friend they claim that you might be to them or how much they love and or care about you, deep down, they give a fuck about them. Their condition is directly reflective of that. Go find a truly altruistic person who runs around the world doing good deeds, not looking for applause and not looking for cheers from everybody else for doing the right thing, who does good deeds for the sake of doing good deeds, not thinking about what it is that they are going to get out of it, and I guarantee you, you will find someone who does not suffer from depression. Because it is impossible to suffer from depression when you're thinking about something other than your own goddamn self. It's also impossible to suffer from depression if you don't believe in it, but that's an entirely separate thing. All of these people are untrustworthy. As a matter of fact, anyone who is not either in the position they want to be in or well on the way to the position that they want to be in is not trustworthy, because they don't give a fuck about their own self-interest. They disregard what is actually best for them in favor of doing what they feel like the most in the moment. And those two things will very rarely align. So if these people are willing to throw themselves under the bus just to feel good every once in a while, imagine imagine what it is that they are willing to do to you. You need to get better friends. You need to surround yourself with people who you can trust. And not only that, who inspire you and who push you to do more. All of these other motherfuckers are selfish as fuck, and you have absolutely no business being around them, because as much as you might care about them, as much as they might claim to care about you, when it really comes down to it, they will drag you the fuck down. Some people would rather give up their mother than to give up their cocaine. Some people would rather give up their children than give up their excuses. Some people would rather give up their wife than give up their food. All of these people are the ones that you don't need to be around. And when it really comes down to it, this is the really fat, the really depressed, the really poor, the really addicted, all of that shit. They choose stuff other than themselves and their loved ones every single day. If they loved anyone in their life, they would be in much better shape, much more sober, make much more money, be much happier than they were. Because when you actually care about other people, you show up as the best version of yourself so that you could be the best person possible that you could be for them. But again, all they give a fuck about is themselves. Stay the fuck away from those people.